What's up, guys? The Snowman here, mixing it up a bit today with my US Open preview. If you've ever watched the Grand Slam preview of mine, you know that normally I do the men's and the women's previews separately. I also always wait for the draws to come out before doing my previews. However, since I'll be busy at a wedding all weekend, I've decided to do my US Open preview before the draw comes out. I'll take a look at the biggest storylines on both sides, analyze the player odds, and make some predictions ahead of this massive fortnight in New York. And 5 major storylines, starting with the legend Serena Williams. If you haven't heard, this US Open will be Serena's final tournament in her iconic career. Turning 41 years old in September, the body unfortunately starting to break down. Serena has won exactly one match in the past 15 months due to a litany of injuries and an inability to get back to her true top form, a form we saw not even 2 years ago when she made the semis of the 2021 Aussie Open. But the cliff has been a steep and precipitous one for Williams, physically speaking, just not the same mover at this point. So all eyes will be on the 23-time Grand Slam singles champion. How long will her dream stay alive on Arthur Ashe Stadium, an arena where she's achieved so much greatness? In fact, Serena has made it to at least the semifinals of the last 11 US Opens she's played, and I'm never one to bet against the greats, especially the all-time greats, but if Serena makes it to the third round next week, that in itself would be a huge accomplishment. It's going to be extremely emotional, an expensive ticket for sure, as we bid farewell to the 6-time US Open champ and perhaps the greatest tennis player of all time. Speaking of all-time greats, my second biggest storyline at the US Open is that Novak Djokovic will not be present at the tournament. He's won 3 times. Djokovic unable to enter the United States because of his unvaccinated status, so he'll be forfeiting a chance to consolidate his recent success at Wimbledon and become level with Rafael Nadal in terms of all-time majors won. Djokovic sitting at 21, Nadal at 22. Of course, if you follow tennis at all, you know that Djokovic also forfeited his chance to play at this year's Australian Open, so his ranking is set to drop a bit, especially with Wimbledon awarding no points this season. Novak is 6 in the world right now, likely to fall to 8 or 9 after the US Open. More importantly, though, this will open up the men's draw in astronomical ways. Djokovic would have been the prohibitive favorite. Now the opportunities become greater for others in the top 10. We'll look at the men's odds in just a moment, but Novak sticking to his guns. He will not participate at this year's Open. That leads into my third storyline. 5 men have a chance to leave New York as the number 1 ranked player in the world. Would have been 6, but Alexander Zverev announcing earlier this week that he's still not fit enough following his nasty ankle injury at the French Open. Zverev's withdrawal will further open things up for this field, so Nadal and Daniil Medvedev are the most likely candidates to be number 1 in a couple of weeks. Medvedev, the current number 1 and reigning US Open champ, if he successfully defends his title, he'll remain at 1. However, if Nadal wins the title, then he would be back on top of the ATP rankings. 3 other players, Stefanos Tsitsipas, Carlos Alcaraz, and Casper Ruud, all have a chance at 1 as well. If any of them win the championship and Nadal fails to make the final, then one of those gentlemen would be the brand new world number 1. So it's going to be very interesting to watch. How will the math unfold? Nadal could be back at number 1 for the first time since February 2020, whereas Medvedev trying to keep a firm grip on the top spot that he's held since mid-June. Not as much drama on the women's side in terms of the number 1 ranking. It's Iga Swiatek right now, and it's going to remain that way for the considerable future. She has about twice as many points as the world number 2, Anett Kontaveit. Iga is the outright favorite to win this US Open. We'll look at the comprehensive women's odds soon. It's worth noting Swiatek's form has cooled off considerably when you compare it against what she was doing a few months ago. Her 37-match win streak was tied for the longest since 1990, but that came to an end in the 3rd round of Wimbledon against Alizé Cornet. That defeat came on the heels of Swiatek winning 6 tournaments in a row. Now she's gone 4 straight without lifting a trophy, so the bottom line is Iga's invincibility has worn off. Parity has returned to the WTA despite the odds still stacked decently in the polls' favor. My 5th storyline is who's been hot over the past few weeks. 1,000 level events on both the ATP and WTA in Montreal, Toronto, and Cincinnati in August, and some unlikely champions on the men's side. The Spaniard Pablo Carreño Busta striking gold in Montreal, the first Masters 1000 title of his career. He went from ranked 23 to 14 in the world. PCB knocking off Berrettini, Sinner, and Hubie Hurkacz along the way, playing his trademark counter-attacking, hard-working, run-down-every-ball brand of tennis. And then in Cincy, it was a Cinderella story for Borna Coric. Out most of last year with a shoulder injury, he entered Cincy ranked 152, but leaves at 29 thanks to his maiden 1,000 crown. Coric serving tremendously, pummeling his two-handed backhand, upsetting 5 top 20 players last week to win the title. Guys like Nadal, Tsitsipas, Felix Auger-Aliassime. Coric is going to be a popular dark horse pick in New York. Then you've got some familiar champs on the women's side. Simona Halep flexed her muscles in Toronto to win her 24th career singles title and 3rd in Canada. Halep is back where she belongs in the top 10 after just over a year on the outside looking in, and she's playing extremely consistent from point to point. Only Swiatek has more match wins this season. Halep looking very rejuvenated after a rocky injury late in 2021. And how about Caroline Garcia becoming the first ever qualifier to win a WTA 1000 level title in Cincinnati? The former world number 4 clinching her 10th career title over Petra Kvitova this past Sunday, and no player has more wins since the start of June. Garcia playing big hitting tennis. She's overtaken Elena Rybakina in terms of the most aces on the WTA Tour in 2022. Garcia will be a painful opponent at the US Open. The French woman locked in and playing as aggressive as ever. So those are some of the top storylines. Let's go through the men's odds now. Ignore Novak Djokovic's name in the top left. Again, he will not be present when the draw comes out. Daniil Medvedev is the odds-on favorite to win the US Open, the Russian being the defending champ from last year, and actually a very rare case, but we essentially have 3 defending champs in the men's field. Rafa at plus 550 hasn't played at the US Open since he won it in 2019, and Dominic Thiem at plus 8,000 returning to New York for the first time since he won it all in 2020. Thiem just won his first hardcourt match in 18 months this week, so 3 men defending their US Open titles. 19-year-old Carlos Alcaraz has cooled off some after his electric early season surge, but he's got the second best odds. Nick Kyrgios at plus 700, a very interesting proposition. Reached his first major final at Wimbledon this year, 31-9 in 2022, won DC. Beat Medvedev in Montreal, but stamina in best of 5 over 2 weeks, always the question mark for Nick. Tsitsipas and Sinner high on this list too, but beyond them it gets pretty bleak. Andrei Rublev not in the best form, Berrettini on a 3-match losing streak, maybe FAA, Shapovalov and Hurkacz have high ceilings but low floors. Marin Cilic might be worth taking a flyer on at plus 6,600. He's been great in the majors this year, same with Carreño Busta, former US Open semifinalist. In the end, with so much uncertainty on the men's side, though, I would lean towards Nadal, even with the rib injury at Wimbledon. Rafa undefeated at the majors this year, 19-0, so he's the safest pick to me, and it wouldn't shock me if we get a first-time Slam finalist on the other side, somebody like Alcaraz, Sinner, or even Taylor Fritz. Again, no Djokovic or Zverev. The men's title is totally up for grabs. As for the women's odds, the aforementioned Iga Swiatek and Simona Halep with the best odds. We also have the Wimbledon champ Elena Rybakina at plus 1,100. Coco Gauff was forced to retire in Cincy with a minor ankle sprain, but should be good now. Then you've got the likes of Emma Raducanu at plus 1,600, and if Emma fails to defend her US Open title, she's going to fall from 11 in the world to most likely in the 60s or 70s, so a lot of pressure on the young Brit. Difficult to tell how 2-time US Open champion Naomi Osaka will look. She's a miserable 2-6 overall since the month of March. I do see Bencic and Andreescu as good value plays at 28-1. Also, Beatriz Haddad-Maia, the Brazilian in fantastic form the last few months, made the final in Toronto, knocking off Swiatek, Bencic, and Pliskova there. Still looking for her first main draw match win at the US Open. We talked about Caroline Garcia's form. She's 4-0 against top 10 players since returning from injury in May, so no one wants to see her. Honestly, past Swiatek and Halep, it's a real crapshoot. They're going to be the safer picks. I could see a player like Paula Badosa going far as well, maybe Madison Keys as a dark horse too, but if you made me guess a champion right now, I would say Simona Halep has looked sharp and again revitalized with Patrick Mouratoglou in her coaching camp. defending with supreme intensity in and out of the corners. Of course, she has the experience in major tournaments too. Plenty of intrigue for the upcoming 2 weeks in New York. Thanks a lot for watching my US Open preview. I know it was a little bit different this time, but I appreciate you hanging in there. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the Snowman Sports Media for more tennis content and preview videos. And thanks a lot. I'll be back real soon with more. Cheers.